Alright, and we are back into another Hell's Nice React video. Caleb knows more about this than I do. Mr. Rice, can you explain this video?
So we're basically looking at a new kind of 3DS kind of thing. So me and Schmidt, honestly, we're in love with DS and the 3DS. We love playing games or anything, Mario Kart and everything. This is the AN Thor. The AN Thor is pretty much an exact replica of the 3DS, but it's like an emulator. This guy will explain it all to you guys. I've been looking on videos and everything like that, but I wanted to see really in person. Now I'm thinking about getting one of these, but I want to convince Schmidt. And I was like, let's do a reaction and see if I can get you the convince.
Long story short, he's already had somewhat an impression. This impression is going to be my first impression because, in all honesty, this is the first time I've ever heard something about this. I've understood, like, I know about emulations of 3DSs and whatnot, but the first time someone's actually made a replica physical console, or not console, but physical handheld, is going to be impressive to see. Alright, Mastro, without further ado, press play.
When I ordered the AYN Thor, I made a mistake, a big one. The kind of mistake that keeps you awake at 3 a.m., staring at the ceiling, wondering if you've just thrown $349 into the void. You see, I was so focused on choosing the
So
right
it's
model, making
$350.
sure I had the
Okay.
specs I needed, triple checking the storage capability, like I was defusing a bomb, that I completely forgot to read the shipping information. My only defense was that it was stupidly early in the morning here, and I didn't really know what I was doing. I just clicked through, riding that beautiful wave of retail dopamine that comes from pre-ordering something that you've been obsessing over for ages. And then,
So is
approximately
it not like
4
an actual thing
seconds
that's
after
out yet?
confirming the order, my
Oh, it's
brain
If
out.
thoughtfully
it's out.
reminded me that international
So I'm assuming
shipping
when he made
exists,
this
that
video,
customs
this is before it
exists,
came out
and
then if he
somewhere
pre-ordered it.
between China and my front door,
I would
there
assume
are
so.
approximately 17 opportunities for my shiny new toy to vanish into the logistics equivalent of the Bermuda Triangle.
Okay.
The shipping confirmation arrived, shipped October 14th. Fantastic, great, I was thrilled. And then I watched the tracking information like it was a slow motion car crash. I couldn't look away from it.
Mm.
October 14th,
That sounds
dispatched
like
to the
us when we
warehouse.
order a
October
package.
15th, still in China. October 16th, still in China. October 17th, through to the October the 21st, it was still in China.
Jeez, so like a
I was
week in
just sitting there,
China.
presumably having a lovely holiday, seeing the sights, maybe learning some Mandarin. I started
Oh
to
my
wonder
gosh.
if my Thor had decided to defect. By the 22nd, I'd convinced myself that it was never leaving. I'd imagined that it had fallen in with a bad crowd, picked up a smoking habit, started hanging around with dodgy USB cables in dark alleyways.
USB
But then
cables. Why are we taking
miraculously,
shots at
it
USB
moved.
cables?
It got to the UK by the 24th, and 3 days later, it arrived at my door. And I felt the kind of relief
Whole month.
usually reserved for that first visit to the bathroom when you've been holding it in on a particularly bumpy car journey.
You
Now,
know,
I
that is
should
very
mention that
relatable.
I
I've
went
been
with
there, done that.
4PX for shipping because, well,
Long
let's
road
call it the
trips and you have to
past
piss.
experiences with
I've been
DHL
there,
have
done
proven
that,
to
so
be
I
the
understand that
non-killer. Your
relief, I
mileage
guess you
may
could say.
vary. Some people love DHL. I'm just not some people. And look, I need to be honest here. 4PX shipping has been a real problem for a lot of Thor buyers. I've seen plenty of people in the community dealing with packages stuck in the warehouse for weeks, tracking numbers that don't update for days on end, and delivery
It's like
times
mine.
that stretch far beyond what anybody would consider reasonable, even considering that we're shipping stuff from China.
Mm.
These are legitimate issues that many people are facing right now, and it's not
If
AYN's
it's
fault.
if it's bad
It's just
sending
the
it to the
reality of
UK, imagine
international
how bad it
shipping,
would be sending it to the
particularly with
US,
4PX being overwhelmed
especially
seemingly
now
with
with
too
what we're
many
dealing with.
orders. But if you're ordering one of these, you should go in with your eyes open about potential shipping delays. Some people have already said theirs haven't even shipped yet, which probably because there was quite a few orders of them. I got lucky. Mine moved relatively smoothly after that week-long sit in China, but I'm aware that that's not everybody's experience. And if you're somebody who needs their device quickly or gets anxious about tracking information
You might
going
as well
dark
suck it
for
up and wait.
extended periods, it's worth knowing all of this before you commit. But here's the thing, and
Oh,
this is why I'm
I
telling you this
appreciate him for
story.
giving us the warning.
Despite my anxiety, Despite the week-long layover
All
in
that
China,
anxiety.
despite my absolute certainty that I'd somehow managed to pre-order an expensive brick that would never arrived, AYN actually delivered. The pre-order process was straightforward. They shipped on day one. They did for me anyway. I mean, look, I ordered really, really early, and the device showed up intact, functional, and exactly as described. In a world where crowdfunding tech is basically a lottery, where the prize is disappointment, that's worth mentioning. I've backed Kickstarters that are still sending me apologetic emails 3 years later. The Thor just arrived like it was supposed to. What a concept.
Mhm.
So here I am,
Nice.
a week into ownership, with a device that I genuinely didn't think I was going to see this side of Christmas. And I need to tell you about it because this isn't just
That
another
was
retro
sitting on the
handheld
left
in a
corner.
market that is drowning in retro
The
handhelds.
bottom. You mean the bottom right
This
corner?
is a dual screen clamshell
That's the
with
left corner for me.
flagship specs,
You
OLED
don't see that?
displays,
There's like a
and the
little,
audacity to ask whether we actually
got this little
need our
computer screen.
3DS consoles
Oh, you're talking
anymore.
about that. Oh no, I see
After
what
all
you're
these
talking about.
reviews in the making, I think I might
Oh,
have
look at the
found it.
bottom right corner. I'm
This
trying
is
to
the
see. Like, I
AYN
see he has
Thor,
a
my first
Switch.
look.
I'm
That's
trying
a
to.
Game
Sit
Boy.
comfortably.
Is that
Let's
what a
talk
Game Boy
about whether
is?
this thing is
Thought
Yeah,
that'd
worth
that's
be
a
the
Game Boy.
smaller.
shipping
Figured that'd be
anxiety, the
smaller.
price tag, and the hype
I
that's
think
been
that's a
building up for months.
like a
Because I've got
rip-off
some
one.
thoughts, I've
Mm.
got some opinions, and I've got approximately 10 more jugs to get through before we get to the end of the video.
10 more jugs.
Ooh, I like that intro.
Retro intro. Oh my gosh, the
So
fact
here
is he
it
had his
is,
own
Merry Christmas,
made
the
characters.
AYN Thor. I've been using
Impressive.
this for about a week now, and the first thing that hits you when you take it out of the box is just how complete it feels. This isn't one of those budget devices
Unboxing
where you're
videos.
making excuses before
Look
you've
at
even
this.
turned it on. The weight feels right at 380 grams. It's substantial enough that you know you're holding something, but it's not so heavy that your wrists start filing formal complaint procedures.
Okay, I'm gonna stop it right here. One of those things is it is made from China. You know, everything's made by China. So if you're gonna try, if you get convinced it's from China or anything like that, but you know, PlayStation's, Xbox, they are made from China too. So that's what I'm trying to get the point out right here.
There's no
For
camera,
20
front cameras
euros.
on it, I'm noticing.
It's a clamshell. It's got
Nope,
two
this is not
screens
one of
overhead,
those.
and when you open it up, there's this immediate sense of, oh, this is nice. The top screen is 6 inches, the bottom just under 4, and they're both gorgeous. Rich colours, deep blacks, the kind of display quality that makes you wonder why you've been putting up with lesser screens for such a long time. The
Hmm.
hinge has this lovely resistance to it. It opens with one hand, clicks into
It's like a
3 fixed
DS, you know what I
positions,
mean?
and doesn't
I
feel
really
like it's
hope
going
there's
to
a way you
snap
could
off if
like
you look
connect
at
it
it
to your
wrongly.
computer.
There's a bit of play
Like if
there,
there's a port you
particularly
can
on the
plug in.
right side, which initially made me nervous until I remembered what had happened to the Retroid Flip 2 with its tight hinge. This change feels deliberate. It's like they've learned from somebody else's mistakes.
Hmm.
The single-sided hinge mechanism has led to some concern about uneven tension and wear over the long term, but AYN claims 20,000 cycles. And you know what? I've probably hit a couple of hundred so far because I can't stop opening and closing this thing. It's
Okay.
like some sort of weird fidget spinner for adults. Whether that'll hold up
That
in
is
the
a
long
classic.
term, I just cannot tell you. That nobody can. But right now, it feels good. If hinge durability is something that you're worried about, then you might want to consider waiting for 6 months to see what happens to everybody else's units. But everything else here feels solid. When you press on it,
Do you know
watch
when
it
these
turn
came
on,
out?
there's no flex, there's no creaking,
Came out
there's
the
no
first thing in
sense that
October.
corners were
So they
cut.
just
This is a
came out.
project. This is a
This
project that's
is
been
a
going on for 2 years.
$300 device that
Hmm.
feels like a
Pretty much when the
$300
DS
device, and it
died,
kind of
or
sounds
3DS
obvious
died.
until you remember
Hmm.
how many
I think that's when they
handhelds
died, just 2 years
promise
ago.
premium and then deliver optimistic. The top screen is the weakest point, though. It flexes a little bit when the lid is shut and it's pressed on. It is a worry for something that contains a screen that could break. If any force is put on it, there could be some problems there. And I'm surprised that they didn't at least put some feet at the corners of the device to alleviate this. The glass panel on the controller section looks fantastic when
Oh
clean.
yeah, they talk about it. This whole panel down here is glass.
Hmm.
So so the top is glass, the bottom is glass. So this whole thing you can see the reflection is all glass.
Yeah.
So it's one of those things. You get two of these. So pretty much about this thing, he's in debt or anything like that. You see where he has on the top Atari and stuff like that. I believe this thing he will tell you, but this thing can go up to Nintendo Switch.
Hmm.
On the black model, it's also a fingerprint magnet on an industrial scale, but I've not found that too much of a problem. I had the same thing with the Portal. Reviewers said that it collected fingerprints, but in everyday use, it just wasn't an issue for me. The same is true here. It's more compact than a Switch OLED when closed, pocketable if you've got reasonably large pockets and a belt to make sure your trousers don't fall down.
Hmm.
Now,
Relatable.
when you close it up, there has been something that reviewers have been making a fuss about: the gap between the screens. Some people have made this sound like it's a design catastrophe, and it's not. Yes, there's a gap. Keys could get stuck in there, dirt could accumulate, scratches could happen, but it's not actually the disaster that people claim. When you close this device, there's a
That's what's
small
that
lip
now. That's
with
just getting
rubber
kind of
pads
getting down
that
to the
stop the
nitpicks of
screens
it.
touching the body directly, which is smart. The gap exists for protection. If you're worried about it, Russ from Retro Game Core, I think he's actually changed his surname to that now. Russ discovered that keeping the packaging foam from between the screens works
Yep.
perfectly as protection when you're carrying it around in a bag or something. There's also an optional grip accessory
Oh yeah,
available as
they
well
made they
that
made a
kind of
grip
makes the
thing so
device
that it acts like
look
a
like it's
controller.
on two large testicles. And I'm
But
not exactly comfortable
Okay. That was
with
a
that for
horrible
next
way to
generation.
word that.
If you've got large hands, it probably
Two
will
large
make a difference.
testicles.
It fills out the back, the space. It gives you more natural a hand position during longer sessions. But I have one of these things and I'm just not using it. The Thor is comfortable without it for me, though your hands may feel differently about that. And I'm very aware that I may be the exception that proves the rule here. Under the hood, this Thor is the Pro version, which has the Snapdragon 8 Gen 2 with 12 gigabytes of RAM and 256 gig of storage. Other configurations are available. The Lite comes with the Snapdragon 865 and 8 gig of RAM. The base has the 8 Gen 2 with 8 gig of RAM, and the Max tops out 16 gig of
Ooh.
RAM with 1 terabyte of storage. I went into all of this in my first thoughts video when it was announced, so if you're wondering which one to go for, it's actually worth checking that video out. This is flagship level hardware from 2023 and it shows. I've got the AYN Odin 2 Portal, which uses the same chip, so I know what this processor is capable of, and it's a lot. The screens are both AMOLED, the top display 1920 by 1080 at 120 Hz with 650 nits peak brightness. The bottom is 1240 by 1080 at 60 Hz with 550 nits. They are stunning. Vibrant colors, deep blacks, excellent contrast. Retro
does
games
it
look
give you
absolutely
that
gorgeous with
DS
that rich
vibe?
color saturation, bringing classic pixels to life.
Except I want to
But
actually see a
I'm not
DS
actually
game
that big on technical
showcased,
specs.
not
I wanted to
Atari
know
games.
what this is actually like to live with. That's what I wanted to make this video for. Before my unit arrived, I'd seen a lot of chatter online about button noise. People were worried that they were going to wake up the dead every time they pressed jump in a platformer. Now, they are clicky, but they're actually a lot quieter than my Portal. If you're currently gaming at night without causing domestic incidents, you'll continue to do so with the Thor, unless you really attack the buttons with a kind of aggression that's usually reserved for people who've just been told that the Wi-Fi is down, in which case you have got much bigger problems. What actually caught me off guard was the size. These buttons are small. Not unusably small by any stretch of the imagination, but definitely smaller than I was expecting. We're talking 7.9mm face buttons,
Wow.
19.7mm D-pad. For context, most comparable devices kind of sit around the 21mm mark for the D-pad, which doesn't sound like much, but you really can feel the difference. The
Mm.
first time I picked this up, there was that moment of, oh, they're quite dinky, aren't they? They work beautifully, though. The D-pad is responsive, precise, perfect for retro games. The face buttons have that premium, tactile feel. Look, small doesn't mean bad, it just means small. But I do suppose that this could be adding to some people's sense that the controls feel cramped in their hands. The community is actually split on overall comfort. Some people find it cramped. I don't. I find it very, very comfortable to hold, even during longer sessions. The layout works for me, but I can't speak for anybody else. If you've struggled with the original 3DS or the Flip 2 because of your hand size, this isn't going to solve that problem for you. The triggers have become another bone of contention. For me, they're just about acceptable. I'm finding them mostly comfortable. They're
Okay.
responsive. The analog triggers, they've got a nice progressive pull. And I've been gaming for hours without issue. However, everyone has said that the design is a little bit flawed here and that they really should have been rounded for a bit of extra comfort. And you know
Mm.
what? They're not wrong. I can absolutely see how somebody with larger hands or who holds the unit slightly differently to me could find their fingers catching against that sharp edge. It's not sharp enough to cut you, it's not that sharp at all,
But
but
it's
it could
uncomfortable.
become uncomfortable,
Yep.
especially over time. The square design, the positioning, this isn't going to work for everybody. Ergonomics are very personal, and what fits my hands might not be right for yours. There's also been talk of heat. Now, this does get warm on the right hand side of the bottom screen when you're pushing it hard for several hours, but it's never uncomfortable. It's just warm enough to remind you
Super
that there's a
Mario World,
Snapdragon
nice.
8 Gen 2 in there doing actual work. Those hours of gaming bring me to battery life, which had people worried. There's this assumption that two OLED screens must equal terrible battery life. But that's not actually how it works. This has the same Snapdragon 8 Gen 2 and battery capacity as the Retroid 6, and nobody has mentioned battery life on that at all. Everybody's really excited about it. What's important to remember here is that the bottom screen doesn't draw significant power when it's on. It draws power, but it's not going to drain your battery that much. I've not really felt the need to worry about game times or battery life. It just kind of fits into my day without issue. Turn it off when you're not using it, and any concerns about extra battery drain will go away, as much as they would have done on the RP6 anyway. Now, I haven't done exhaustive testing because this is a first look, not a PhD, but the Doom predictions do seem to be completely overblown. I've spent most of that battery life on DS emulation, which is
See?
really what
Oh
this
my
device is
gosh.
built for. Melon DS is your main option for
See?
DS
Thank you.
emulation.
That's what I wanted to
Well,
see. I
not
really wanted to
perfect.
see
It's
that.
got a few quirks, but it's functional for most games. Some people have called it unstable, a disaster, and it just hasn't been my experience. It does have stability issues, but
Ready?
Yep.
I've been able to do the odd hour or two in Mario Kart, and I've just started Chrono Trigger, and everything's run perfectly. I've only had one crash so far in all of that time. The alternative, of course, is drastic, but that hasn't been
I've played
fully
that
vetted.
game. That's a classic.
There's an issue with the touch functionality on the second screen. Luckily, there is a fork, and I want to credit,
Look, touchscreen
I'm going
works
to
on the
get this
bottom.
wrong, Matt Zissou, I think, who was on the AYN Discord for finding this. And this adds the functionality for the external display, making the games play like they should. I'm
Ah.
testing it out now. Touch works, which is huge, but there are scaling issues with the bottom screen because it doesn't quite fit into the screen constraints properly. And I saw some video ghosting in Mario Kart. It's not perfect, it's not plug in and play, but it exists and it's an option. I need to do a lot more testing with this before I can give you a definitive answer, but it's worth knowing about. So I'll have a link to it in the description below. Now, I know some of you will have heard that OLED burn-in is appearing on these units very quickly, and I wanted to address that directly. Here is my experience. I haven't seen burn-in or any retention in everyday use, and I have been looking for it. It just doesn't seem to be there. I've had static menus up. I've played games with HUDs. Nothing. No ghosting, no retention, nothing. Nothing that you wouldn't have expected
I like
anyway.
this
Maybe
guy. It
a
gives you
couple of
the
seconds here
honest
and there, but it's
review. Not
gone.
like
It's
everyone else
what
that
you'd
wanted to
expect from
shit on
anything.
shit.
Look, burn-in is real. It can occur with prolonged static content at high brightnesses. But this panic seems to be based on isolated cases, possibly a bad batch, and it isn't burn-in at this early stage anyway. That really needs hours
I
of
almost want
static
to see the
content on
video of
screen
him
to make
actually
it happen.
testing it if he's got it.
Use reasonable brightness. Don't leave static screens up for hours. Turn off the second screen when you're not using it. The standard OLED care, the same as you do with a phone, and you shouldn't have a problem. There could be some dodgy units out there. That's always a possibility. but this really isn't something that you should be panicking about on this particular issue. I've also heard several people saying that the software is janky, that it's half baked, but it's a mess. But it's not what I'm seeing at all. Now, look, I don't use their game launcher at all, but I do use the rest of the system. And the dual screen Android implementation works smoothly and is really well thought out. You can control your brightness, your audio for each screen independently. You can switch performance modes, adjust RGB lighting on the sticks, and monitor system stats all from one place. It feels polished in a way that actually really surprised me because you've seen some of these things before and they don't quite feel as polished. Even the fans run quietly under load, and you can set it to smart mode and pretty much just forget about the fan completely. Using this for a week has really made me think about what the Thor is actually replacing in my setup. Original DS and 3DS hardware is aging now and sometimes aging badly. The custom firmware scene is showing its age too. Screens are dim and low res. A decent new 3DS XL costs between $250 and $350. This Thor cost me $349. So for similar money, you're getting modern hardware here with OLED displays, save states, cheats, ROM hacks, and multi-system capability. For most games, this replaces that aging Nintendo hardware entirely. People always bring up the 3D feature, but here's the thing, most people I know turned it off anyway. It worked well in a handful of games, but it was a gimmick, and it also gave headaches to kids across the globe. For the vast majority of the 3DS library, you're getting a better experience here with a higher resolution, better screen, and modern features. The same is true of NDS
Ooh, monkey
titles.
ball.
You're also getting Switch, PS2, GameCube, Wii U, although Wii U is actually rather janky right now, and I'm not sure most of the dual screen games are actually worth playing anyway. I have had a few problems with this unit, though, and it's worth mentioning.
You
For
ever had a
some
Wii U?
reason,
No.
certain games don't seem to like the controller. Captain Toad and DuckTales seemingly couldn't recognize the controller on the GameCube on Dolphin. This is odd because Super Mario 3D World could and plays it perfectly. And yet they all play well on the Portal with exactly the same setup. Now, this doesn't appear to be a hardware problem, as the on screen controls were also not working. And I also had the same problem with the Rocky Horror Show game, which is a tiny little game on the Switch. But other stuff is running perfectly well. Why this is an issue, I have absolutely no idea. It's probably the jankiness of early early adoption. That's what I've done. I've adopted early. I've stolen a small child from Africa. That's right. But look, it's not like those games aren't available in other places anyway, and that's actually where I've got them from. But that's really the only problem that hasn't been down to user error and setting things up at stupid o'clock in the morning. This is a first look. Look. This is a first look. It's not meant to be a comprehensive review. I can't speak to long-term hinge durability. I need more time with emulators. I haven't done exhaustive battery testing. Screen burning takes months, if not years, to assess properly.
Mm-hmm.
After a week with this device, though, I am really excited about it. When you're playing DS and 3DS games with proper dual screen separation on glorious OLED
See, now
displays
playing Partners in
upscaled
Time and Paper
hardware,
Jam
it
on that would be so
feels
much better and so
special.
much easier.
This is the experience that I
Mm-hmm.
wanted when I got
Oh,
the
Bowser's
3DS
Inside Story.
XL earlier in the year,
Yep.
and it's an experience that it just could not give me. It's also incredible for Game Hub so far. I've played Stray, Hollow Knight, Silk Song, The Rocky Horror Show, which worked perfectly
You
for
can
either Ocarina of
actually,
Time.
actually on this
I'll be
fucking
doing
thing,
follow-up videos for
you
these.
can
I want
do
to look at
Steam
longer-term
games.
durability, deeper emulation testing, and whether
Mm.
my enthusiasm holds up for this device. But right now, the AYN Thor has impressed me. It's not perfect, no device is, but it's very good at what it does. And what it does is bring dual screen gaming into 2025 with modern hardware and enough power to make it sing. If you'd like to see those follow up videos, please hit that subscribe button, and I would love to hear your thoughts in the comments
See,
below.
what I want to
Does the
see
dual
is being
screen
able to hook
gaming
that up to
thing
your
appeal to
PC
you?
so
And
you can
what
capture.
questions would you like answered? I'm more than happy to test stuff for you if I think it's a good idea. So let me know about that as well. But until next time, that's it for this video. Thanks ever so much for hopping on board the goat powered chariot and into my retro corner. Until next time, see you then. Goodbye and happy gaming.
Yes, sir. Nice outro.
Okay,
I
really
mean,
on thoughts or anything. I haven't I've been looking around. I haven't seen anything about, hooking it up or anything like that. The other thing, there's another one around there. It's called the Retro Pocket 2. Retroid Pocket. It's another it's like a it's like a not a DS. I show you why, but it's just why, like, if we do another video, I'll show you why. But this turns out to be like a 3DS or anything. You could run pretty much 3DS games or anything like that. I've seen videos, people playing Pokemon, freaking Mario Kart 7. You know, it's something turn around like modern days now for DS and the 3DS is dying down. Nintendo doesn't really care about those anymore. Just like you saw on the Switch. They don't see anything or potentials of putting DS games onto the Switch.
Yeah.
The feeling of trying to do those games, and you saw on the Switch too, they're not really doing that. And like when it comes to the future, I don't see anything that will come close to this. I don't think Nintendo will even go back where the DS was the market. I never see it. I like how more depth in this video is than anything else. There is videos out there, Schmidt. There's videos that show you gameplay, even Switch games, Wii games, all that stuff. But it is something that came out in October, and it's taken a while for people to come and do their reviews and stuff like that. So it's a very brand new kind of thing. You know what I mean? So I don't know when anything is. It does the one thing it does have is an SD card, and it is like a kind of Android kind of thing. So there could be a possibility you can record onto it. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
So it's like I was thinking if it like tests or anything, it's like Android, you can use like the screen recorder and you could play the games and stuff like that. Unless there's some other ways where there is a charge port on the bottom, but I feel like you can hook that up to an Elgato. For me, I think so. But that's honestly my review. I like this and anything with the AYN Thor. I like to go back and nostalgic and go back to like 3DS games and DS games. That's really where I peaked when gaming and everything like that. Freaking, I can't remember. It's the first game I ever got on the DS was Mario Kart. Mario Kart DS.
I was about to say
So
mine was Super Mario Bros.
I think this is it for this video.
Yep. Alrighty. I guess we're gonna have to call it here, fellas. If you guys got a video suggestion or any ideas, be sure to let us know. Other than that, we are heading on out. We will see y'all next Monday. Goodbye.